I am so happy to welcome to the Coop one of my very good friends,
Oh,
Natalie Morales. Thanks for coming on, my love.
you know how much I adore you, Kit. For you, anything. And I've been seeing all the celebs you've had on the show, and I'm like, when is she going to ask me?
You were my first
So,
ask when we got this because one thing I love, we were lucky enough to work together for many years, and your work ethic, I think, is unmatched. We're going to get into your whole career because I'm so in awe with it. But we start the Coop, Natalie. One word to describe where you are in your life right now.
pivot is the word. I'm in it right now, girl. Can I go right now? I'm pivoting.
No, why do you say that? Is this because the talk ended?
The talk ended, and I find I'm once again sort of redefining my role, at CBS. So it's sort of trying to feel my way through a little bit of, uncertain territory right now. At some point, I just want to coast and enjoy life. But this comes with the territory, I guess, when you're in a position like ours where it's challenging and obviously times are very difficult for media companies these days. Shows are getting canceled left and right. So this is where we're at. The incredible time that I had at the talk. I will say it was the 3 best years of my life where I had the most fun at work. Not that I didn't have fun at work with you, Kit.
No,
Don't get
I
me
get
wrong.
it. I get it. I love
Yeah.
where you landed over there. What do you think
Yeah.
it was about the talk that you could say those were your favorite 3?
It just was so free. It was like us just, having a conversation around coffee in the morning, like the way we would do it at the water cooler, talk about all the things that interested us. But of course, as at Access, we were an entertainment news program. So we had to also put out a product that viewers are going to want to watch, not just 2 girls chatting away about all the entertainment and celebs out there. So it just was so freeing and liberating. And I think people, they were like, gosh, Natalie, we finally get to see a side of you that we haven't really gotten to see yet. I mean, I felt like they saw that with you and me, Kid, at Access. I mean, we had, come on,
We
like
had
me as Bradley Cooper, you as Lady Gaga.
Y'all gotta look that up. Natalie made the sexiest Bradley Cooper of
Oh,
all time.
yeah.
I was on the back of her bike as a Lady Gaga.
And there was something about that made me want to kiss you,
I
Kid. I
know.
don't know what it
I gotta
was.
say, you look really hot on that lion. I definitely felt things with that picture. This is the part of you that I love, that there's nobody more fun. You also have such a news background. But back to the art of the pivot, for any
Yeah.
listener that's going through something in their own life, what do you do to move through it? Because I thought about your childhood. You grew up moving all
Yeah.
over the place. What do you do? How do you reflect? How do you sit in it to be okay with it?
Yeah, I'm an Air Force brat. So I think sort of part of my upbringing has always been every 2 to 3 years, okay, pack your bags, get ready to go. We're starting over, making new friends, moving to a new school. In fact, I moved my senior year of high school between my junior and senior year. That was completely a pivot from Madrid,
Wow.
Spain to Dover, Delaware,
Whoa,
and
whoa,
talk about
whoa.
having to reinvent yourself. I didn't even have a driver's license. So I was like the nerd on the back, the senior on the back of the bus. Going to and from school. I mean, when I think about it now, it was such a defining moment for me because it was such an uncomfortable year. But it taught me so much about myself, about resilience, and how, in those times where you don't know who your friends are, you don't know who you can trust, you really have to just figure out who you are as a person and trust that you are going to be okay. And and you figure it out. I mean, I think the one great thing that my military upbringing always taught me was the art of conversation. I can make friends with a lot of people,
Yeah.
and I love talking to people, and living all over the world as we did growing up. We learned so much talking to other people, learning other cultures, other languages. So anytime I have felt uncomfortable, it's find a friend, quickly find a friend. And that's actually what I loved about coming here. Speaking of pivoting, when I made the big pivot from New York to LA, the reason I did it, Kit, was largely because of you,
Oh,
because I saw this example of this working mom who was having so much fun and was just living life and doing it like your own way. And I had like just worked, getting up at 4 a.m. And it was the constant grind of news, news, news. And I was like, where's the fun? Like, yes, I had a great career at the Today Show with a lot of fun, a lot of great friends. But there was a time where my kids were growing up and I was missing out. I felt like on their lives and on having fun moments with them. And so, I feel like finding a friend is probably the best advice I can give people. Finding people that you can count on, but also your family, the people that mattered most to you are going to help you through those times. So it can be really challenging at first, but I think when you're on the other side of it, you look back and you say, wow, I am so glad I did that. Like that was the greatest thing I ever did. I have so many friends who've made that move similarly from New York to LA now, and they have all said the same thing. Why didn't I do this before? What was I waiting for?
Well, your leap of faith was unbelievable, Natalie. How many years were you on the Today Show?
I was on the Today Show. Gosh, I guess it was officially 16 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you
Long
were on
time.
it, I really feel like in the glory years, as far as all eyeballs were on that show.
We were on when it was like, 6, 7 million people watching every morning. And then by the time I was gone, it was like half the audience.
Yeah.
It tells you how much, things are changing in our world.
And you remember, because I remember seeing you a local on Connecticut. Do you remember when you got the call to come to the big dance, to come to the Today Show? What was
Well, it was first actually the call to go to MSNBC. And so from Hartford, WVIT, the NBC station, they plucked me to just try me out at MSNBC a couple of times. And I'll never forget, like my first day on the air happened to be like in the middle of this huge like Mideast crisis. All hell was breaking loose, but all of a sudden it seemed like there was going to be a Mideast peace deal. And I was the one at the desk. They handed me a stack of scripts and they're like, you know what? Throw out the scripts. We're going to Andrew Mitchell. And they just started yelling out names, people that I like, they're legends. And I was like, sink or swim. Here we go. And thank God I did okay.
You were doing the butterfly, Natalie.
I wasn't Michael Phelps. It was not pretty. I think I was doing more like the little doggy paddle. But my head was above the water.
That's incredible. I do think for a lot of people with our business, and they can take away from this listening, part of it is to jump, don't look before you leap. You got to jump into the deep end with whatever you want in life and not be scared to take that risk, which you did. Then you got called up the Today Show.
Yes.
And then when you think about the Today Show, did you have a favorite moment there? Because again, I watched every morning.
Oh my gosh. So many moments, so many opportunities. Of course, all the Olympics. You and I got to do Rio together, which was a hoot. Kit in Brazil. Wow. Wild thing.
Two of us. We covered the royal wedding, Harry and Meghan. We were
Yes. We just had so many. Yes. And I went and covered, the royal birth when Prince George was the first baby born, royal baby of.
By the way, he didn't come, and you were camped out over there. I felt like for
days and days. There was a campaign to free Natalie because she was overdue by I think 2 weeks. Yes. By the end, we're talking about all the things she could do to induce labor, spicy Indian food, drink some cocktails, whatever it was at that point. We're like, Kate, please do it. Please. I got kids too,
I love all the hard news stories you did. So you had this incredible run there. And then I'll never forget, you and I connected at the Golden Globes. Do you remember? Yeah. And I pulled you down. There wasn't a seat.
I sat on your lap.
You sat on my lap. And we just had
That's when I knew.
Yeah. We had this great moment. And I just remember thinking, I really like this woman. I consider her a friend. I would love to get to know her better. Then you made the move to California. What was that conversation like? I, of course, made it a couple years before you, but a big deal. You have to you had a whole life back on the East Coast.
My kids, all they knew was Hoboken, New Jersey. They were born and raised. And, for me, having grown up as I did, yes, it's a wonderful thing if your kids have the same friends their entire life and they can grow up in the same neighborhood. But I felt it would be best if we did broaden their horizons. And I had always come out to the West Coast, whether it was the Golden Globes or the Oscars or a big celebrity interview. They knew I loved coming out here. So I knew that there was this opportunity to come out here and they were looking for, a bigger role for me out here. So I took it as a chance. My husband and I, we talked about it and he had some business out here and it just kind of all worked out that talking about it, my oldest was going into 7th grade. My youngest was going into 2nd grade, perfect times to kind of get them in their schools where they could then go on to go through high school all in one place. That was important. And, we just said, if we're going to do it, now's the time. I mean, so many times when I flew over and landed into LAX, I always would look down at the beach and the palm trees and be like, what would it be like to live here? Like, I envisioned it. And I think it was just finally a matter of time. Like Joe and I had long said, someday, someday. And then when it got to the point, I was like, what are we waiting for? Again, it's that conversation of what are you waiting for in life? And I think so often we keep waiting for our kids to get to a certain point in their lives, or we keep waiting for our relationship to get to a certain point, or our contracts or our careers to get to a certain point. And the one thing I've learned is you can never really plan with these things. Like sometimes the opportunity presents itself and you just have to go for it.
Yeah. The only constant in life, I just had this conversation with my 90-year-old dad, is change. That's the only thing you can count on. But now I feel like for you to have the bravery and the courage to do it, I just think a lot of our mom friends, when I talk to them, they want to do these risks. They want to take them, but it's hard. And you did it and moved out here. And then now I look at what's going on with you right now. So that the talk ended, what an incredible run with that show. I know in between, before the talk, you did something magnificent just for you. You had a baby. You bought your horse. Is it who?
Yes. I was going to say, I didn't birth my horse. No, actually, I have Louie now, and I have another horse, Magic. I'm crazy. I'm a crazy horse girl now.
You're such an animal lover. I love this.
And I have 3 dogs.
And 3 dogs. I saw you just got a new rescue.
Yes.
What do the horses do for you, Natalie? I actually thought in that time, sort of filling that space inside of you that's not about work, because you are so driven and structured. I think they must bring you something magical. What is it?
It's therapy. As there are actually T-shirts that say, I feed my therapist hay. And that's pretty much what I do. As a little girl, it was always a dream of mine. I get emotional when I think about it because it was like that one thing that I always wanted in life. And it was like, I remember as a kid asking my dad, I just want a horse someday. Someday I want a horse. The same way kids ask for dogs. But I just have this connection. It's like a spiritual thing with these animals. They're incredible to sit on. And when you have this trust, I mean, there's this incredible relationship. I'm getting really geeky here on the horse stuff.
I love this.
But it's like, this bond. I have to trust this 1,200-pound animal that they're going to take care of me. But at the same time, they're flight animals. If something is like in the corner of their eye and they have peripheral vision off to the sides, they see everything way before you see it. And their senses, as they say, I think it was Ronald Reagan who said what he loves about a horse is the way their muscles ripple, but they also feel like before a mosquito even lands, they can feel like the beating of the wings of the mosquito on the horse. They just have this sense about them that they really feel what you're feeling. They say they can feel your heartbeat from like 5 feet away. Now, I believe that. People are like, I don't know, is that true? But they know when you're coming at them, what you're bringing to them. So they've taught me it's sort of a reflection of yourself and what you're feeling. The first couple of times I got on and didn't have a great ride with a horse, it was not because of them, it was because of me. And I was like, wow, that is so eye-opening because I didn't realize my fears or my anger or whatever I was bringing, they were feeling it and responding to it. You learn so much about yourself just in the way and just in the sense of touch that how they respond to you.
I think, Natalie, just how much I know you and friends, is it the ability to let go when you're on the horse, that safety and trust. One thing I try to work on is I feel like I grip the bat too tight, right? I'm holding I want to make sure everybody's good. Is this job good? Are the kids good? To loosen the grip when you're on the horse.
Yes, that is a perfect way to put it because, in fact, my trainer is always like, loosen your legs, relax. They're always like, just melt into the saddle, which I'm always like, I'm like, and we're runners, and we're athletes, so we're always like compact and be ready to go. And it's the opposite when you're on them. Of course, you're guiding them, but yeah, there's a degree of just letting them do their thing with you trusting them to lead you too.
Oh, that's incredible. Where does your drive come from?
My drive, I think, is just my inner competition. I mean, I think you and I both have that same, like, becoming probably the athletic part of us who, we always have a goal, I think. Just motivationally, being one of 3 girls, I was in the middle, having to find my way as the middle daughter. And I think there's something to be said about just figuring out where you fit in the pack.
Yeah, and growing up, I mean, could they have ever envisioned this for you? Let me brag about my friend, extremely bright, got into Princeton.
I didn't get to go, couldn't afford it.
Yes, but into Princeton, which again, it's funny how life takes twists and turns. But I feel like, have you always had that drive? And did your family promote it, or what was it like growing up in your household?
It's funny because Joe and I talk about like now how we see our kids with the way we have to be on them. And it's like, I don't remember my parents ever asking me if I did my homework. Even applying to colleges, they didn't ask how many schools are you applying to. I think my dad maybe looked through a couple of my applications just to help me copy edit here and there. But that was it. Like other than that, it was very hands off. But I think my drive just came from me wanting to be successful. There was one teacher I remember in fourth grade, Mrs. D, social studies. Now I remember her name. Here's why. She gave me a D in social studies because she said I was a dreamer.
What's wrong with that? This is fascinating.
Yes.
Yes.
So after that, I was like, I'll show her. I'll show Mrs. D. And so anytime anybody has doubted me, like whenever somebody says, oh, you can't do this or you can't, I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've sort of been underestimated my whole life.
Yes, exactly.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about you, Natalie? What do people get wrong?
I think there's that. I think they don't think I'm maybe as fierce as I can be. I think you've seen sides of me, like where, there was a time in my life where I was afraid to ask for what I wanted. And there was a time where I wouldn't speak up for myself. And I got plowed over pretty hard. And I saw people get things that I didn't get because I didn't speak up for myself. So after a certain number of years of feeling like people were just kind of taking me for granted, I remember speaking up to a certain number of bosses and saying, no, you got me wrong. And those times where you thought I didn't deliver or I didn't have the drive or I didn't have the edge, here's what I was doing, blah, blah, blah. And I think when I had those sort of heart-to-heart moments with people who questioned if I had enough news edge, I think they came around respecting me in the end for that. And knowing also that don't you mess with this Latina.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you started working with me, we had this great conversation. You were always told you weren't one way or the other enough. You weren't Latina enough. You weren't this way enough. Think about those conversations. And I feel like now we're in a totally different spot than we were 20 years ago.
Yeah, there were very few Latinas on TV when I first started in this business, and I could count them on my hand. And I was the first Latina news anchor at the Today Show. So it's pretty amazing when you think of that. But yeah, my agent would tell me these things that he would hear from, and he was trying to be nice about it, from at the time the head of a network saying that I wasn't Latina enough.
What does that mean?
They expected me to fit a stereotype. And by the way, look at our country. A lot of Latinos don't even speak Spanish. I mean, I actually lived in Panama, Brazil, Spain, and speak Spanish and Portuguese. And, not that you have to speak Spanish, but, there's many ways to be Latino. You're born with those genes. So there's no way around it. And I have cousins who are blue-eyed, green-eyed, blonde-haired. I have dark-haired, dark eyes, dark skin, you name it. So, I mean, it's pretty fascinating that this person at the head of a news division was able to say that.
To feel okay to even say that, Natalie.
No, it wasn't okay.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they felt okay saying that out loud to somebody is just, hear that.
Maybe different times. This was, maybe 10, 15 years ago. But that said, it's still very insensitive to say the least.
Oh my gosh. Also, I like reflecting. You and I are similar in so many ways. I do think early on in my career, very much a pleaser. And I would just, again, go with things that weren't right, and finding our voice in our 50s. How refreshing.
Yes.
I just feel like I'm in this resurgence of like just calling out what works for me, what doesn't work for me.
Right.
This new muscle. Do you find yourself doing that more and more?
Yes. Yes. Although I feel like I'm in different phases where there are times where I'm like, nope, that's not going to work for me. But then there's still part of that people pleaser in me that if I have said no to things too often, then I'm like, okay, I got to come back around and say yes a couple of times too. I mean, I think there's somewhere in the middle where I need to be. But you're right. It came with like when I came out here to Los Angeles, I think part of that my whole mindset and attitude was like, these are going to be my years
Mhm.
of reclaiming sort of the fun in my life, letting people get to know me better. And I'm going to really figure this thing out too, because I think I was sort of like stuck in a rut. And, I think part of that is just learning to say sometimes I can't please everybody.
Yep.
I've got to accept that, I did that for so long. So many of, the 4 a.m. wake up calls or flying out to cover breaking stories. I was always saying yes, yes, yes. And it got to a point where I was like, you know what? Sometimes I just can't do it. So I'm human.
What would be your dream role next, Natalie? What are you manifesting?
Oh gosh. I want to host a show again. What that looks like in this day and age, I don't know. There's something out there for me that's calling me, and I just have to figure out what it is, whether I make it happen, I create it, but I want to host my own thing or do it with some friends, but to be, once again in the driver's seat, having fun at work, that it's good conversations, deep conversations. I think there's a place for that still. I think people want refreshing friendships. They want real people on daytime TV. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
What advice would you give to any young journalist today that maybe they wouldn't want to hear? Like, here's what you think this is going to be, and this is kind of the reality of where we are now.
Forget hair and makeup.
Right?
Wardrobe. Oh, you're doing it yourself.
Yes.
And you're getting up at 3 a.m. And if you think about saying no, forget about it.
Mhm.
You can get to a certain point in your career and then say no. It's interesting actually because Josh wants to be a journalist.
Really?
And my oldest son, yeah. And he's studying it at UCSB. He's a reporter at UCSB TV, so follow him.
Natalie, tell me everything.
I think he's pretty talented. I think he's got what it takes. Now, what I've told him is, you're going to be doing what I'm doing. Sometimes getting up at 3 a.m. still at this point in my career. It just doesn't go away. You're going to be working weekends. If this is the career you want, this is what you're going to be. Your life path is not going to be glamorous.
At all. How would you describe balance? You and I always laugh that it's a 4-letter word, but what does balance look like to you?
Balance to me is if I have 2 days to get to yoga and 2 days to get my dogs out running, and then the rest I can squeeze in between and go horseback riding. I mean, it really is just fitting in my life around my work life and finding time for me and obviously being a mom. I still have Luke at home.
One thing that's been fabulous getting to know you when you moved out is seeing you as a mom. You're a spectacular mom of these awesome 2 boys. Did you always want to be a mom, Natalie? Did you know that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was no question. It was just a matter of like, when can I do it? And, and how quickly, because we also had trouble between Josh and Luke. It took like 4.5 years. So to get pregnant, because my hours, my schedule, probably the stress of the job and a lot of saying yes when I was, trying to get pregnant instead of saying no.
But by the way, again, to the art of the hustle, if you didn't say yes, it was,
Yes.
especially back then. Again, I don't know how much has changed.
Absolutely. I would not have had the job or the career.
They didn't care. Yeah.
Nope.
It was figured out. How would the boys describe you, Natalie?
I am probably the bad cop in the family.
I don't know.
I guess I'm the tougher parent, only because I'm always the one who's asking about their grades and how'd you do in school? The things that my parents didn't ask me, I'm the one asking them. But it's more, I'm just very protective. But I also think they know that I am their biggest supporter, champion. I think they would say, I think especially Josh knows this now, having, been abroad overseas, and I went with him and helped him settle in and just really get a sense for who he is. He had some struggles with anxiety, and I think he's come through that. And I think now he would say that there's nobody you want in your corner more than me. And so I think as a parent, that's all you can hope your kids say about you at the end, that you've got their back, that there's nothing you can do to my kids. I mean, I am mama bear all the way.
Yep.
And I think you're the same. We're both the same.
Want us in that foxhole. How neat to see Josh blossom like this. How has
Yeah.
it been with him out of the house flying and just Luke at home? And you and Joe talk about what's coming from me, Natalie.
Oh my
In
gosh.
this empty nest. Are you and Joe ready
Okay,
for it?
I'm going to give you new words for that, for emptiness. This is actually from Demi Moore, and I love what she said. And now I'm like co-opting her words.
I'm drinking that Kool-Aid, Natalie, so hit me.
Yes, I think this is how we have to reframe it. And she heard it from a couple on a plane that she was talking to. So, because her kids are all grown and she's raised this beautiful, supportive, extended family, they're just incredible girls. And I was like, what an amazing mom you are that you have this relationship with your daughters. And she's like, yes, she's like, but I'm also enjoying my time. She's like, this couple told me, we were talking about being empty nesters. And they're like, no, we're not empty nesters now. We're free birds.
Oh, I like that.
That's how we're going to be. We're going to be free
Free
birds.
birds. I'm going to take it a step further. We're free birds and we're bird launchers because we're
Yes.
launching them. I always feel like with my kids, I'm so excited for their adventures. Like launching
Yeah.
them is like our greatest success, Natalie. And then I think it's launching us, like sort of
Right.
launching where we want to be.
Yeah, I think it gives you a chance to like look at where we are in life and figure out like, okay, what is my next act? Or what am I really dreaming of doing? Or where have I not traveled to yet? Because now, everything is dependent on the kids' school schedule and you can't go because you can't plan. So I'm kind of looking forward to being able to like go to Europe in October. Who cares?
Yes, that's another funny thing as a couple to see
Yeah.
what you really look like together, right? When that part is sort of launched.
Yeah. I mean, I hope it's good because there's part of you. I mean, all we do is talk about the kids or the dogs or what are they doing now, so there is that part of you that you have to like figure that out. But ultimately, I mean, we have so many of the same interests and hobbies and loves in life that, I think it comes to that, what we fell in love with each other over these, this relationship of, being together. And I think we'll get there again. We're there still, but we need some work as do we all with 27 years,
Wow. Oh my gosh.
It is.
Okay, wait, now let's play a little game.
Okay.
If you could go back and relive one moment from your teenage years just for the
Ooh.
experience, what would it be?
Ooh. Okay. Oh gosh. I would have gotten a retainer sooner.
Give me the visual of you with buck
I
teeth.
had the worst buck teeth up until probably 12 or 13. Literally, Kit, that it was bad. It was, you could drive a truck and park in between my teeth. And I just did not have a sense of style. I was needing some help. I was not like born naturally cute like you.
No, I've got visuals to prove it. But by the way, you will send that picture immediately. So when you call me, it'll go up on my phone.
I'm going to pull it. You're going to pull it up. There's one with me, I think, playing the flute. Of all things. How I could play the flute through the fee from my teeth.
I think it was the extra air that came through that makes you
The extra air through the big.
What is your favorite vice?
Oh, wine. You know this.
God, we love our good wine.
Wine. Oh my gosh. You get me a glass of wine and some cheese and some dark chocolate. I'll talk to you for days. You are my
what's great?
best friend.
You are great. You can settle in with that. I love it. For as hard as you work, you're great. I think of all of our travels, it was so fun to unwind.
Yeah. No, I love just going out on the town, any town.
Yeah. Natalie doesn't get tired. I lose steam at about 8:30.
You did. I'd be like, where's Kit? Oh, she's gone. She's so little. She just like snuck past.
Right out. I was always so impressed. What about working out? What's your latest thing? Because you've always been a runner like me.
Definitely, I'm running still, but I can't run like I used to, and I don't run as fast. I mean, I've got piriformis issues and just my hips, everything. Everything hurts now in the 50s. So I do a lot of yoga sculpt, like with weights to balance that out. And I do Pilates, Legree, like on the big mega formers.
Yeah.
So it's really hard weighted Pilates. It's great. It's such a strengthener because I hate working out with weights by myself. So for me, going to a class is the best way to motivate me. So those are that and riding, that's horseback riding gets me really going and just you don't feel like it's exercise, but when I get off them, I'm like, wow, I really worked out.
Yeah. Do you remember one time, Natalie, we were getting dressed together, and this is so funny to share with our listeners. You have one of the most beautiful bodies, and we were changing clothes.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you do. Best body I've ever seen. And Natalie's changing. You have the most beautiful lingerie on, and I'm literally in my Kirkland brand.
Granny panties.
I did. I had my white granny panties. Oh God, we died laughing.
That's what I loved about you, Kit, because it was just, you would just be like snapping the elastic. Look at me, I'm so sexy.
Oh, I loved it. That was so good. Favorite curse word?
Oh gosh, the F-bomb. I mean, I don't say it much. I rarely say it unless it's like driving in LA and stuck. And then it's the F and the A follow each other.
Yes. Yes. But see, you're so classy and don't honestly, Natalie, I've started saying it and my mom is like, this is just not cute. And like I have to get it out of my vocabulary. It just
I think it just, if there's another word that is as, I don't know, it just allows you to release. It's like the perfect shortness, feeling, all of it, it's like a punch. It's like a little,
it really is.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah.
Who has been your consistent mentor?
Gosh, I haven't really had one. That's why I think it's been interesting because, and I always tell, fellow female journalists, it's our responsibility because I think I didn't have a lot of women who took me under their wing and said, let me help you, or I think you should do this, or you should try this. Like, because it is such a competitive industry, I think, you don't want to be grooming your competition. But the interesting thing was I was asked to give people VO lessons and to help my fellow colleagues. And I did it willingly and lovingly because we're all on the same team at the end of the day. And, I want all of us to look good. So I've always been the person, if I help somebody out paying it forward, I know it'll come back around. They'll help me out someday too. So
it always does.
Yeah, it's karma. You got to put good out in the world. And you know what? The competitive biatches out there, you know who you are. Does it make you feel better about who you are at the end of the day? No.
Natalie, when I got access daily, the first live show, we will not mention a name, and she said to our old EP, you're hiring Kit Hoover. She's washed up. I was 40. I was like, who's washed up at 40?
No,
and one time
I
she
know.
was talking about me, and I was in a convertible, and I was like, I can hear you. Okay. And it just was like, oh my goodness, like we don't roll like that, right?
No, we've always been supportive of each other. And I feel like you have to fight for one another. It should be, it's something that it makes us better. Like when we were Access together, being able to go cover the royal wedding together, it makes us better. It's more fun. It makes the show better. There were always things that we had to go in there together and say, no, let's say we want to do this as a team.
That serves us well. This is a fun one. What's in your bedside drawer, Natalie Morales?
Oh, a little something that you gave me, Kit Hoover.
That's right. It was a white elephant. No, it wasn't. I just gave it.
No, it was a real gift.
It was okay. We will leave it at that.
And you swore by it.
I forgot. Natalie, I gotta find mine. I forgot about that.
What do you mean you have to find yours? It should be like right there.
I know. Wait,
your best friend.
Best friend. Oh my God. I forgot. That is amazing. Yes.
Ask and I shall tell, Kit. I tell no lies. And a lot of books, by the way, that I have stacked up that I should be reading that I haven't read yet.
Right. What makes you laugh at yourself?
Oh, sorry. That's one of my dogs trying to come in. I think it's, I need to laugh at myself more. I have to be honest. I think every time I make a mistake, I internalize it so much. And then I sit there and replay things in my head rather than at this point, I should just be like, come on, Natalie, what the, and just laugh. But I think it's, again, that competitiveness in all of us that I am my own worst critic. And so if I screw up on the job or if I say something not quite the right way, I come down on myself harder than anyone. So, but other than that, what makes me laugh at myself, probably when I fall running and tripping over sidewalks, which I do quite often. And my husband blames it on again, maybe it's the dreamer in me. I'm always thinking or running and looking at my device. And
I love your honest answer to laugh at yourself more. I just think that I try to instill that in my daughters. There's something with women, I think we're a little harder on ourselves.
Yes.
And I always tell them, if you have the ability to laugh at yourself, you win. Like there's something
Yes.
about that. So I
So
appreciate that.
freeing,
So
right?
freeing.
You're such a good mom, Kit, because you always have like such great wisdom. And I think, just such perspective that, I think every young girl, I mean, I don't have young girls, but like your girls really benefit from that.
I appreciate that. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Natalie, weirdest thing in your purse?
Weirdest thing in my purse. Probably the crumbs of leftover snacks.
What are we snacking on? I just had my almonds in there. I had my Kind
They're
bar. Like what's in
so healthy. No, I have some bars in there that are like leftover crumbs and nuts and seeds and things that have melted at the bottom of the
Yeah.
bag. I just have a lot of, the bigger the bag, the more that ends up in it. So there are just weird things in there. I mean, there are probably mold cultures in there at the bottom somewhere.
I pulled out 5 pairs of sunglasses the other day. Like
Oh yeah.
yeah, what is that? What are we doing with these sunglasses?
I know. I know. Losing them at the bottom of your bag.
And they're always on my head as I'm looking for them.
Yeah.
What would people be surprised to know about you?
Unless you do a deep dive into my past, I think people maybe don't know that my first job out of college was in finance. And I kind of am a day trader, have a stock portfolio that I've had ever since I was in finance. Yes, you didn't even know this about me, did you?
What? Did you have a briefcase? You're a trader? Go down to Wall
On
Street?
Wall Street. Yes.
You're a working girl.
I was a working girl. I had the big hair and the shoulder pads.
You got a body for sin and a mind for business.
Business. Yeah.
Were you great at it? And what did you love about it?
No, that's why I did it for 2 years. It was right out of college, Chemical Bank, which is now JP Morgan Chase. They recruited me. And, at that time I was trying to be a journalist, but you couldn't find a paying job in journalism. But I wanted, to live in Manhattan. So this is another piece of advice I always say to, up and coming young journalists is don't be afraid to take another job sometimes.
Yep.
And you have to start somewhere. You can always pivot back as long as you kind of keep your eye on the prize. But sometimes you have to make money and you have to put the money away, which I did for 2 years. And after I, saved up and I did want to learn about the world economy and markets. And I'm so glad I did. I learned so much. And listen, I started investing at a young age. And had I not had that background, I wouldn't be able to retire.
Isn't that the coolest? I love that you did that. That's the best
Yeah.
advice. I sold copiers for Kodak.
See?
Journalist, but I was like that. I had to make some money.
You're the hot copy machine girl, though. Like, here she comes. She could sell us anything. She's going to sell us a fax next.
Was your first job at Court TV?
My first TV job was Court TV. Yeah. So out from JP Morgan or at Chemical Bank at the time, I was able to get a job in the marketing group at Court TV. And I put a tape together during that time at Court TV. Back then, you put an actual cassette tape, a reel, and sent it to all the stations locally in the area. And then got my first real on-air job at News 12 The Bronx.
Yes.
As local news gets.
You're writing, you're shooting it, you're editing.
Editing, all of it, anchoring, and rolling my own prompter all at the same time.
Incredible. Do you ever remember an interview that just totally went off the rails?
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. So many. I mean, there was one interview where it was, make sure Joe's not around, very handsome actor. And for whatever movie it was, can't remember the name of the movie. And I just locked onto his eyes and was just like, wow, are those green or are those blue? Maybe they're green. The whole time I'm like debating in my head. I'm like, I'm supposed to be asking questions. I've never been more tongue-tied.
Did you pull anything out to this air? How can I find this
I
interview?
can't find it. Can't find it. It's gone. Long gone. This is long before social media and all of that.
You've jumped out of airplanes, you've mountains, like you've done crazy stuff.
Yeah. Any chance I can to kind of get out and do an interview in a different way too. I mean, I just did an interview on horseback for a 48-hour story that I have coming up. So, I mean, it was the first time that I've done that. And it was, at that point you're sort of at the whim of the animals. So, but I was like, these are the things that I love most, telling great stories and to do it on a horse. Wow.
So wait, so you're doing 48 hours and you're doing
CBS mornings. Yeah.
Which I know they want you back there, but that's New York. You're not going to leave California, are you?
No, I'm here. Yeah. I love my life here. So whatever comes next, it would take a lot to get me to, it'd have to be the right opportunity, the right job to be able to go back to New York. I mean, I loved our time in New York, but
Yeah.
I think those years are behind me and I want to move forward.
Yeah. As we always do. We're in flow,
Yeah.
Natalie.
I want to figure out what's next,
Yeah.
not what's behind me.
No, I can't wait to see what this is going to be for you. Are you manifesting anything right now?
You know, it's funny. I actually wrote, I never really believed in or did all of that. I kind of envisioned, obviously, but I never really wrote it down. And for the first time this year, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this manifesting thing
Yeah.
out, holding crystals and the whole thing. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put it out in the universe. And it was like having my own show again, where, you know, I can get my crew back and get our cast back in some way. You know, I just loved the crew that I worked with so much. You know how it is. You
Yeah.
become a family, and these people see you on good days, they see you on bad days, and, you know, you become just part and parcel of each other.
Did you have a nickname growing up?
Natty. Yeah.
Kitty.
Yeah. Never really more than that. You're Catherine.
I'm Catherine. Kitty.
I love Kit. The Kit is so it so suits you though. Or Kitty.
Kitty.
Kitty cat.
By the way, my whole family says hello to you. My mom, Bug, loves you. My brother,
Oh,
Greg.
she
They were
texted me today. She's like, I hear you and Kit are going to be together. I was supposed to be in person with you.
Yes.
But truth be told, the traffic on the 405, as much as I love you, Kit, it was going to be like 2 hours.
You know what's great is this is what great friends are. It's like you pick up right where you are. And of course, whatever worked for you. Like you and I have always had that unconditional friend.
Yeah.
Always there. And I like people in my life like that.
Yes.
You know?
Same here. It's like uncomplicated.
Uncomplicated.
And people will always, you know, you'll come through.
Always. Natalie, aging is what?
Aging is, to me, I think there's freedom to it. You know, I'm going to go back to, I mean, I just interviewed Demi for, you know, her Oscar run, but, you know, to me, there's something about, you know, in my 40s, I was still working super hard and I was still sort of trying to find my path and make my next move. And now in my 50s, I'm like, you know what? I'm comfortable where I am, wherever this takes me. And there is something freeing about that. Also knowing that I will be okay. I can go spend the day riding my horses or walking my dogs or hanging out with my kid and cooking dinner, and I'm going to be okay. Like, you know, I've worked really hard to get to this point in my life. So, you know, there's freedom. And of course, I want to keep working. I have the drive still and I love what I do, but I want to do it with the right thing going forward.
Yeah, there's something so cool about where we sit, Natalie, in our
Mm-hmm.
it is. The word is free. There's a freedom that comes with it. Everything that makes us up is still in there. But
Yeah.
I feel very differently about everything. There's
Yeah.
stillness, but still with the drive, I guess is
Things don't matter as much.
Matter.
Like the material things too. You know, I think the one thing that, you know, with having the LA fires, all of us, when it puts your life in perspective like that, I mean, I don't know if you guys had to evacuate. I think you were, yeah. And we didn't. We were very close. And of course, so many people around us were, but the Palisades is the town over. And we just loved the village. We would go there all the time for Christmas dinner. We were just there. And you know, just my heart breaks for all those people who are hurting right now. But when you think about like all the things, when you have to pack up your life in a moment and figure out what do you take, it comes down to really very few things.
Yeah.
And that's how I realize like, what are we living for? It's those very few things and those moments. And that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
I don't want to live with the clutter anymore. I want to live with clarity.
And even the clutter in our mind. And I don't know if you remember, Natalie, I had a house fire when I lived in Connecticut. We lost everything we owned when I was pregnant.
Yes, I remember.
There is something, I know I'm accused of rose-colored glasses, but there is something cleansing about it. And we have had to evacuate in the middle of the night. And this time now, I mean, last time I just lost everything. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I could have grabbed whatever. I didn't grab anything, Natalie. I grabbed my family and my animals, and I got in the car. And it wasn't even a thought of me, let me grab this or that. I just walked right out. I was like,
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And I think there's something to that. That's like, yeah, grab the things the people you love,
well, the
your
animal.
animals, and, you know, maybe a couple of photos, which can't be replaced because photos of my father-in-law and mother-in-law who have passed, you know, those pictures, but that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, final question. What turns you on?
Ooh, well, you gave me the tool. Really, it is a quiet night. I have to say, like, just Now just peace and quiet and a good night's sleep.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
nothing to be said about like, especially when you're getting up at 4 in the morning as often as I have now. Give me a good night's sleep and whoo,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm ready.
Love it. That's that stillness. Well, we just love you. Come in, Coop Girls, and
Oh,
say hello. So we'll redo our
love
glass of
you.
wine and dinner, but
Yes.
I can't wait to see everything that's coming next. And just know that
Thank
the Coop
you.
chicks, we just love you. Harper, how great is my friend Natalie Morales? I'm so glad you got to get to know her.
She is a hoot.
Yeah.
I was laughing hysterically. Some of those stories about your guys' time together was so fun. I loved the lingerie granny panties. I loved the bedside drawer. I really would like to know what was in that bedside drawer.
I wish I could remember the name
You
of
guys
it.
are keeping that tight. Like, there was no information shared.
Oh my gosh. Just
So
the fact
cute.
that she was so open with everything.
Yeah.
She's just one of those people. She is so smart and driven. And I feel like very focused on her career and has accomplished so much that I love that fun side of Natalie when you get to tap into that.
Well, we saw that, and I feel like maybe Los Angeles has given her
Yeah.
that gift a little bit. That was one of her big things that she said was wanting to come out here and where's the fun? Like
Where's
she
the
was
fun?
thinking about her job, and she's like, it's amazing. It's giving me a lot, but it's not giving her fun and joy. And I loved how much she admired your move and seeing that in you and wanting that to be a part of her life too. I thought that was
Especially her, but
really
we've all
cool.
been at that spot where you want to do something different, but you don't really take the leap. And she took the leap. I mean, that's a
took the leap.
massive leap.
And she said, "What am I waiting for?
What am I waiting for?
What are we waiting for?"
Yeah, what is it for everybody out there? It's like, the time is now. You're waiting for this to be perfect or that to be perfect or this thing to change.
Or your kids to leave or for the contract to end
Yeah.
or for whatever it might be. And what are we waiting for?
Yeah.
It's right now.
Thought that was so cool.
It was
on
so
her.
cool.
Yeah.
The whole horse conversation piece of it. And I just loved that she got emotional about it and it was so meaningful. It was like a childhood dream that came true.
Yeah. And sort of relating it to that feeling of freedom that she kept talking about and letting go. And I know she bought that horse right before she got her show, The Talk. She'd left Access Hollywood. It was before her next job. So it's probably that period of in between what's next.
Yeah. The thing that when she was talking about the horses, which is not to make it personal, but she said they reflect back what you're feeling, which really horses do that. I've seen videos of horses going into hospitals. And I mean, the soothing and therapeutic side of horses is real. What I was thinking about when she was saying that was the time that I was riding on a horse. My daughter is also super into horses and unbelievable equestrian. I am not. And I was riding this horse called Rainbow that had never been ridden by a normal person except for the cowboy who was a real cowboy who had had Rainbow for I don't know how many years. I was terrified. And the horse, it was such a terrifying experience for me. And then I think I really freaked out the horse. So I was laughing when Natalie was talking about that because they reflect back what you're feeling. And for me, it was like sheer terror.
So Rainbow was like, I'll show you
Rainbow
terror.
was terrifying, and I think I terrified Rainbow. But I loved for her, it does the complete opposite.
And for her,
it's so
I
beautiful
thought
for her.
knowing her and sort of the type A that we all are, that she's going to get stuff done, right? She's worked her whole life. The horse represents that freedom. You have to let go when you're on the horse or you're not going to have a great ride. I just
Yes.
thought that was such a cool way to describe it.
Yes, and the balance, I love the balance question that you asked her too, which was you said, what does balance mean? Because as working moms and women who, like the two of you and so many women and all of us who've worked full time, have families, have full lives in your community, doing all of it, and you asked what balance means now in her life, and do you remember what her answer was?
Well, I think she was talking about filling in stuff for her with her workout classes and her writing
for
and all
exercise.
that. Isn't that cool? We need more of that in our life.
That's her self-care. So she knows if she's doing Pilates, she knows if she's doing a class, she knows if she's riding horses. That's the balance for her. It's a really cool thing to think about for each of us is what gives us balance. What's the thing that we need every day? I know for you, it's exercise.
It is.
As well.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
to get my run in the morning, my endorphins going, and I love that's so important to her too. How about what turns her on? How many of us can relate to this? Sleep.
Sleep. Literally. When I'm a well-rested woman,
I'm a whole
when
different
any of
person.
us are well-rested, we are just better people.
Yeah.
All the way around.
I do think it comes, we have a lot of women on our podcast, 40 and over. It's like there is that thing. We used to kind of mock it or say you don't need a lot of it. Sleep is just gold these
Sleep
days.
is gold. Sleep is gold. And I love one of the last things that she said was that she wants to live with clarity. And that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And she really is. She feels like she also spoke about internalizing less and laughing more.
Yeah.
Goes back to the joy, goes back to the fun and seeking it and finding it. But I felt she's in this really clear space that we all are, where we're looking for all those things. We're looking for fun. We're looking for clarity. We're looking for peace. And we're also still looking to go kick ass and do things.
And her vulnerability, when I asked her, talked about the ability to, what do you laugh at about yourself? And she said, you know what, I need to get better at that. She goes, I'm my biggest critic. And I try to instill this into my daughters all the time. And I love doing it with myself. The ability to laugh at yourself makes you win. Like there's a freedom that comes with that. It's one of my all-time favorite qualities. So I love that she was so vulnerable and open about that. And then we just had a huge chuckle and laugh. She just seems to be firing on all cylinders for where she's going. And the best part, she doesn't even know what's next.
So cool.
And there's such a beauty in that.
I love that so much. And she's working on her manifesting.
And her
She goes, I wrote it down.
I wrote it down.
I love it. She is unwinding, baby.
Trust me, it will be something good. Natalie Morales, thanks for coming on The Coop and playing with Harper and Trevor and me. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We will see you next time on The Coop.